And welcome back to the 12th man. Delighted to be joined by Sam Mc Corkell. We're going to be looking back at a great weekend for Liverpool. Getting back on track in the top four is going to be looking ahead to the Champions League games, and we're going to be looking ahead to the rest of the top four. Risk with West Ham taking control. Delighted to have you, Sam.
He's on 350 grand a week, and he's literally doing live streams.
Yeah, good to be back with you here. Looking forward to the conversation here.
So only one quick start for me. Like Monday, the one on Saturday. My opinion is like the game every
Sam, sorry, I just cut you off there before that intro started. Welcome back.
Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
No.
Can you hear anything at all?
I can hear you now. Yeah, I couldn't hear anything.
Can you hear me now? Sorry, I just cut you off before that intro started. Bear with us, there might be a few issues here. But Sam, I'm going to start talking off about the game at the weekend. Great victory for Liverpool. A lot of pressure going into the game. Obviously, the result at lunchtime, Chelsea losing, I could probably give you it wasn't so much a must-win game anymore. But it was a great performance and a great result. Do you think it was the best performance you've seen for a long time?
It's just breaking up regular.
Can you hear anything?
No.
Sorry, I actually had a few issues here before we come
on. You hear me now?
I can hear you now, yeah.
It's just... What's it like there now? It's all right?
I can hear you, yeah. Can you hear me? Can you hear anything at all?
Get you here now. Just keeps breaking up then.
Try coming on the other device. See if that works.
Right, no problem.
Sorry, as I said, we had a few issues before we come on. Sam's having a bit of borrow his iPad. We thought we had it sorted before he come back, but as you can see, he's deaf and he's blind at times, so he can't really work out what I'm saying. But he's going to come back on his phone, should be sorted. But we are going to be looking back at Liverpool's result at the weekend. Was it their best performance? Fabinho coming back on the midfield, has he been the biggest loss this season? We talk about Van Dijk, Gomez missing, Henderson missing, but Fabinho been playing at the back. Has that been the biggest loss? You've seen Thiago look like a different player. Trent and Robertson seem to have a lot more freedom when Fabinho's in the middle. Here's Sam coming back on here. See if this works. Any better, Sam?
You got me or no?
Yeah, 100. That sounds good. Here, I'll start off. Again, I'm asking you that first question. Just saying, Liverpool's best performance of the season.
I can hear you now. Do you have me?
Yeah. Do you think that was Liverpool's best performance of the season, or certainly the best you've seen for a long time? You can hear right, It's gone again. Can you hear now,
Back to here now.
Yeah, sorry. I was just saying, Liverpool's best performance of the season for you, or best you've seen for a while?
Definitely best I've seen for a while. It was obviously, being a Liverpool fan, you want the 3 points, and that's all you remember at the end of the day. But it just seemed to be the same. Arsenal gave us plenty of the ball and just sort of sat in, but we still lacked a big cutting edge up front until Jota came on the pitch, and it just seemed to be things seem to happen then when he's on the pitch at the minute. So.
See, obviously coming into the game, Chelsea's result would have given you a big boost. The fact that it wasn't such a must-win game, because if Chelsea had won that 8 points behind, probably had to be a must-win game. But the fact that the results have sort of went for you, the table looks a lot better now than it did on Friday. But I was just saying off camera before you come on, just what was going to be some of the talking points we were going to be coming up. And one of the things I thought about the game, and some of the games I've seen recently, Fabinho coming back in the midfield's made such a difference. Do you think that although Van Dijk's been injured and although Gomez has been injured and Henderson's been out, that with the players available, Fabinho's been the biggest loss to the team, that he hasn't been playing in his favourite position?
100%. I said this, I think it was back in October or November. You're taking, people are chatting about Gomez and Van Dijk, the two best defenders being taken to the team, but you were also taking maybe the top 3 defensive midfielder in the world out of your midfield as well. It was always going to be a massive loss, and it just seems now that for all them months, Klopp could have just had him in there and just went with Phillips and someone at the back, because he's so good. He just breaks it up. Everyone comes near him. He just plays it simple. He's very good at stepping through the lines as well and making that, starting that first attack. He's great to watch. Do you think that, as you say, obviously hindsight's a wonderful thing, but do you think that Klopp just slightly misjudged the situation, and that he maybe expected our players in midfield to step up? But when you look at Liverpool's midfield, they haven't really got an our player like Fabinho. So it's not I don't think it's straightforward to see that there's a massive improvement with Fabinho back on there, because he's the anchor of that midfield. Yeah, I just honestly think Klopp overthought it. Didn't think the bad run was going to. I just don't think he thought the run was going to keep going and going. I think he just thought, we have enough quality in the team, which they do have enough quality on the pitch. They get through it. It was just whatever happened, that happened. But I think he thought, no, the next game we're going to get into it. We're going to get into it, and then I think he sort of went into the panic mode. Then he was putting Henderson back in there. No, I think he just sort of lost control of it a wee bit, and then I think it was more Josh, that the run was so bad.
I think
the run was so bad that he ended up being fourth.
I think he was saying that sometimes managers overthink it. So is that what you think possibly could have happened?
I think at the start of the season, when he was setting up a squad and they were chatting about it, I think he said Fabinho will be my fourth defensive, or the fourth defensive centre half or whatever. And I think that was just in his head. He goes, right, 3 are injured. He is next in line, and that is it. And I think he didn't trust Phillips or Reece Williams, and you can understand that as well. They were untested. But I think this run went so far that his hand was forced just to go all in. and get Klopp or get Fabinho back into the centre midfield. Like, he had no choice. I think if he would have won maybe 1 or 2 games in that bad run, Fabinho would have stayed centre half, to be honest.
Yeah. Christie reckons that he's going to have to win the Champions League. Or he could be in trouble come next season. But that's a United fan right now.
I can Christie.
Clap out. I think United fans are getting worried again. That's what it is. But what I was saying there about I think Fabinho's been a huge difference, and one of the big talking points this week was Trent as well being left out of the England team. And do you think that could work to Liverpool's benefit, and the fact that Southgate leaving Trent out, who everyone expected to go to the Euros, with Sheehan, that it's going to give Trent a real kick in the ass now, and he's going to really try and play his best now because he's now in the end of the season, not just for Liverpool, but for himself to get on the England team?
Here, look, it's always a benefit for your club when some of your top players don't play the international games, and I think he should be still in the England squad, no doubt, about it. For what he's done over the last 3 years, the trophies he's won, the big games. You look at that England squad. You take John Stones and Kyle Walker out of it. Realistically, nobody plays big games. Do you know what I mean? Nobody's played in the massive games, the Champions Leagues, won titles. So they have his experience even at 22. You need him about the squad. I don't care what anybody says. That's not me being a Liverpool fan.
It's a very strange one because for some reason, even when Trent was playing so well last year, he did see Trippier play a lot on there and Walker play a lot, and he did go to a back 5 at times and play with Walker as a centre back and Trippier at right back sometimes. So it almost feels like Southgate, he's going to have to really win Southgate over. I'm not sure Southgate. I think Neville spoke about it last night in Monday Night Football that I don't think he's convinced on Trent as a right back in terms of his defensive attributes. But I think Carragher spoke well about it. He said, if you're Harry Kane, who do you want playing right back? And it's definitely Trent. So it's a conundrum for Southgate, but he does seem to be siding along the lines of England's going to be very pragmatic in the Euros. They're not going to be entertaining. They're going to be hard to break down and try and one ugly. Do you know what I mean?
And you know what? That's going to be Southgate's downfall because he has the players to go and play stylish, attractive. He has the Grealishes, the Fodens, the Trents. He has boys that can play ball. The technically gifted. And I know he's going to go defensive, and he's going to. You know what? And Carragher's right. Harry Kane, he wants the ball as quick as possible. He doesn't want 10, 15 passes and then it's reaching him when the team's set up to defend him. He needs to be quick. And I think it could be Southgate's downfall, to be honest. I was chatting to a boy earlier, and if he doesn't get semi-finals or FA would plan to win that tournament for what they've invested, and Southgate's been there 5 years, and all these top young players earning good money, and in
100%. I think it's a huge summer for England and Southgate. I think this is going to be the best opportunity coming up. I think there's a lot better teams around in terms of what their identity is. England at times, I think it's very off the cuff. Some of the things I've been hearing during the week that I think Neville and Carragher, I know they disagreed a lot last night, but they both agreed that England, when they go to tournaments, aren't really a team that dominate the ball and very counter-attacking, pragmatic team. And people are saying, well, we've got Harry Kane and he's playing on a team like that with Spurs. But I think what's being underlooked is what could Kane do if he's having 70% of the ball in a game? Kane's producing unbelievable numbers, whereas when he's having very little impact in the game in terms of he's relying on counter-attacks. If you get boys like Grealish, Sterling, Rashford, Foden, all around him, and he's got runners left, right, and he could be. England have a really top chance, but I don't think they're going to play that way. I think they're going to be very hard to beat. Owen Kelly,
Southgate already.
Owen Kelly saying he doesn't agree with you, Sam. He doesn't think he's top 3. He thinks he's the best in the world, Fabinho, in that role. Christie's flat out this morning. He reckons that Basaka should be going over Trent. I think Christie's on the wind up today. Christie's on the wind up. He must be still drunk over the weekend. Basaka's on someone. I think again he's probably been overlooked because of the amount of right backs that they have. And I think he's not really featured at all, so it would be a big surprise if he was on there. And then Trippier is a strange one because I think he's a player in decline. I watched them against Chelsea for Atletico, and I don't see the same Trippier I've seen at Spurs. I've seen the Trippier that I've seen towards the end at Spurs. People talk about his delivery from set pieces, but I think Trent's got a better delivery now. And Trippier, I think, is on there just because of what he did at the 2018 World Cup. He was Southgate's main man. he's a lot of loyalty to him. And it's something that we talked about quite a lot. Sam, Liverpool, Spurs, managers having loyalty to players, and sometimes you just have to pick players on form, and their actual ability. And I think if you look at Trent and you look at Trippier, there's no debating who the better player is.
That's it comes down, like Gary Neville said a lot last night about if it comes to the big games, you can't trust Trent. Like, but Trent's the only person in that squad that's played in big games for the last 2 or 3 years. You know what I mean? Like, we all know he's not the greatest defender, but he still played
last night. I swear to God,
Champions League finals. He's won the league title. Like, he knows all about it. Like,
you would have thought that Walker's never made a mistake in his career. The way Gary Neville spoke last night, Walker's been a player that's made loads of mistakes, and he still is a mistake. I don't think that right back area. I think if you look at Walker, James, and Trent, all their strengths are going forward. I think if you really wanted the defensive right back in there, you'd be picking Bissaka because he's the best, but he hasn't got that going forward. But I do think Gary Neville is right though. I think he was speaking not so much what he would do, what he thinks Southgate will do, and that he thinks come a big game he's going to play Walker over Trent. Would you agree with that?
I honestly don't think Trent is going to be on the squad. I agree with Neville that Trent won't be on the squad now. Like, I think that was his big announcement. He didn't want to make it a few days before the Euros, and that's all the Euros were talked about. He's put it out now, so everybody's going to come to terms saying, well, he was left out in March. There's no need to chat about it now.
GJ saying he reckons that Trent might not be too bored. He said before he's Scottish, not English, and that he's more interested in what he does with Liverpool than he does with England. Could be a fair point.
No, he'll be absolutely gutted. 22 years of age. The last few seasons he had, he would have been thinking, I'm going there as the main right back. Like, he'll be gutted. It's great for Liverpool. I'm happy because he'll get a full summer off and he'll be back next year ready to prove a point. Like, but he'll be gutted. Like,
Danny's he's from England himself. He's not happy. He said he can't believe he's going to go a back five, and he's clueless. He reckons that Southgate needs to be removed ASAP. But we're sort of get sidetracked there talking about England. But one player he talked about 10 minutes ago was Jota. He's seen a lot of Liverpool had a lot of dominance in that first hour. And they were on the front foot. They did limit Arsenal to very little. Fabinho stopped any counter attacks. There wasn't many of them. But Jota coming on did seem to give you that injection of pace up front. And do you think that's what's been missing, Sam? Even not so much Jota himself, a player like Jota being able to come off the bench where, all right, there was 60 minutes gone, he's had loads of the play, loads of domination, quite similar to what we've seen over the last few weeks, but nobody on the bench to change the game. Jota was that player that could change the game. Do you think that that's what's been missing over the last few weeks?
100%. Like, Carragher chatted about it last night, saying, he just reminds him of the Salahs and Manes of 2 or 3 years ago. That hunger, that no point to prove, like, and he's just a joy to watch at the minute, like. It's just the way he's always trying to get in there, like. And I never expected him to be a centre forward, but he looks like he's going to be Liverpool's centre forward from now on, like. Do you know what I mean? And his goals and assist ratio for club and country for being injured for 4 months of the season as well, it's incredible. Like, the numbers are unbelievable.
He was a top player at Wolves, but as similar to yourself, I've never really seen, and especially not this season, having the impact that he's had. I never really, I always expected him to be like a fourth man in terms of he was always going to be out. No, he would never make the team. He would always be a great impact player. But there is an argument, Sam. Like, a lot of fans are calling for Jota to be starting, but there is an argument that it could be better used as a sub in terms of, if he starts and it's not going too well, Firmino's not the type of player that's going to come on and give you that injection of piss. He's more of a link-up player, and he's more of a player that you use to control a game. So if you're a club, would you go with that same front three and leave Jota on the bench again to try and change it if it's 0-0 or 1-1?
No, I would start Jota tonight, definitely. Like, I think it'll probably be between Manny and Bobby, who partners Salah and Jota. Like, you know what I mean? I think Salah's been poor, or not Salah. Like, Mane's been poor enough over the last few weeks. Like, but I know he's dangerous as well. Nobody will want to play against him. Like, but I think between them two. But I would say Bobby Firmino might be on the bench. Like.
Owen, I think you're on the wrong show. I think this isn't Take Me Out. This is the 12th man. He's in love with Jota, he's saying. But I'll give you Paddy McGuinness's number if you're interested. No, thanks for the comment. I think a lot of Liverpool fans will be feeling like that Jota's been a big miss over the last few weeks, and Um, I think he'll still go with the same front three tonight. I still think he might leave Jota on the bench as that impact player. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
But and if you look at the team in general, it does seem they have found that partnership at the back. And do you think that partnership at the back is going to give Alisson more confidence and the midfield more confidence and the rest of the team more confidence?
Sure. Look, when you like defenders and goalkeepers, they only want clean sheets. That's what they all care about. Like, and the two boys have played 4 times with each other now the last thing, and they have 4 clean sheets. So it can only, like, Trent and Robertson will be looking saying, I can go a wee bit more. I can push a bit more. They have Fabinho in front of them protecting. But hey, it'll be a real test tonight when you come up against Benzema and your man Junior and all. Like, it's going to be like they'll see what they're about today with Benzema. Like, he's top player, top craft. You know what I mean?
GJ saying Firmino hasn't been top level for a season and a half. Jota they started ahead of him. I think Mane, Salah, and Jota would work as a counter-attacking front three. I'm not so sure if it's a game where you're going to have loads of. I know he did score but again, look, the goal was across on the box, and at the end, Arsenal were stretched thin. They were chasing the game. I think Firmino was. I know he hasn't been doing it, but I still think he's a better link-up player than all 3 of them. I still think he could be used. I think Firmino now, you have to accept that he's not going to be the type of player that's going to score loads and loads of goals and loads of assists. But he probably still is a useful player in a squad. Do you see the same, Sam?
Oh, definitely. Like, I wouldn't even consider selling them, or anything like that. It's just going to be more. There's going to be 4 than 3 now. It's however they work it in. But you never know. He might go all 4 tonight. I don't see it away from home, like, but you just don't know, like.
There's been a lot of talk about Madrid. They aren't a team of old. Do you think that it's very, very hard to say that? We don't watch a lot of Spanish football. And the Champions League, they were up against it in their group. They really battled hard in the end. They had an awful start, but they battled hard to come back. They were comfortable against Atlanta over 2 games. Liverpool lost to Atlanta in one of them games, and only they beat them 5-0. But they went to Anfield and won. So do you think that it's very easy to underestimate Madrid, and you could spend for a rude awakening, and you have to treat this game seriously?
Oh, I think over the 2 legs, it's a 50-50 game, no matter what. Like, it's straight down the middle. Like, that half of the draw we got is a very good half of the draw. But Liverpool think that, Real Madrid fancy it, Chelsea fancy it, and Porto. All them teams fancy that side of the draw. Like, they avoided the big teams, the informed teams. So no, Madrid will fancy it. Like, they experience in that team. Like, they go 1 up, or they'll just keep the ball. They'll just use their craft, experience, and they'll just try and kill the game. Like,
do you think Ramos being out's an advantage or disadvantage? I know we know what he can do, but he's also guilty of making a rash challenge or getting sent off. Do you think it's you could look at it both ways?
I watched him against. I think it was Atalanta. I watched that game, and he looked very. I know he's 35, but he was showing he was 35. He looked very, very slow. Trying to make the ball and stuff. Like, I know he's the leader. He is their leader, but he did look slow on it. And I thought if Salah or anybody could get him 1-on-1, he would be a baller.
Ryan saying he thinks they'll stick with the same front 3, and he hates to say it, but he think Liverpool ease past Real tonight. United fan, there you go. It'll be interesting. I think it'll be tight over 2 legs. I do think Liverpool will have too much, but do you know what? I've watched Madrid a couple of times in the Champions League. I think it was that game against Borussia Mönchengladbach. They needed the 1 to go through, and they did. They won easy. And then Atlanta, the second leg, and they won that pretty easy. Again, not the same standard of Liverpool against Liverpool. No, Liverpool's a step up, but 2 players that Modric seems to be getting better with age. It just doesn't look like he's slowing down. He looks like a top class player still. I think Cruz looks a bit slower. It'll be interesting to see what they're doing on field because they haven't got loads of legs in there. But Modric is definitely a player that even seen Neville last night talking about Croatia. England fans are even fearing Croatia with Modric, and they haven't got the players Madrid do. So Modric will be one that Fabinho is going to have to try and stop. But he is a great player, and Benzema's an R1, as you say, getting older, but he still seems to be scoring goals, and he's a man who's scored big games before. So I think it's a great watch for the neutral, especially now. I'm really looking forward to it.
Because it's 2 teams that are nowhere near where they were, so it's going to be it's going to be entertaining. Just I think because I think there'll be plenty of mistakes, plenty of attacking. It'll be interesting. Like, but I would, as a Liverpool fan, I think Liverpool will be too strong over 2 legs. Like, but it's going to be tight.
What would be a good result for you tonight? If I offered you a 1-1 draw now, would you take it?
1-1.
Away
Fuck,
goal.
you'll always take the away goal, like, but you'll always take the away goal. But you take the away goal, I definitely 1-1. But I still think we should have enough firepower to get at them, like.
Yep. Do you think it'll be one of them games where I think the players Madrid have, they're quite similar to Liverpool in terms of they have a lot of the ball. Do you think Liverpool, maybe that's why you could see Jota come in and play with that front three we talked about, maybe be a bit more counter-attacking, maybe let Madrid have the ball and maybe look to expose them at the back? How do you see Liverpool setting up?
They might do that. They might just try and drag them out and then just get at the spaces, because we all know Spanish teams anyway. Like they don't really want to defend, like you said. They want to dominate the ball and push up and look good. Like, so maybe they'll go with that and try and get them in behind.
Yeah,
never know. Be interesting. I'm looking. Like you said, I'm looking forward to seeing.
Big time. We've been on here a couple of times before, Sam. Sometimes after defeat, sometimes after Liverpool have a great one, and their record in London this year has been very, very good. They've won away at Spurs, Chelsea, Arsenal, all very comfortably. I think they put 7 past Palace. They won away at West Ham.
Yeah.
Some great results in London, and some great away results. But the stumbling block's been consistency. You look at these next 4 games: Madrid away, Villa at home, which is going to be tough. Madrid at home, and then Leeds away. So can they string these next? Are this team capable now? Do you think of stringing 4 results together?
I was chatting to a boy this morning too, and he's a United fan. Like, he was saying, "Oh, I could see you going on and winning the Champions League now." Like, and I says it's a bit early for that. Like, I says it's a massive week now. I says if we could go get past Madrid, beat Villa, I could see us going on a run probably to the end of the season. Not counting the Champions League, I mean more the Premier League. Like, but like, I thought that before in January when we beat West Ham, we beat Spurs, and then they lost like 4 in a row. And like, I just don't know where it's at.
It's going to be. I think these next 4 games are going to be the key. If you come out of that next Monday night after beating Villa and Leeds and getting past Madrid, there's going to be a lot of confidence. Semi-final, and you could argue that I know Chelsea have been pretty consistent. I know that you could maybe say the 10 men affected them, but they looked vulnerable. You should even when 10 men 1-0 up against West Brom. He haven't been scoring a lot of goals. They conceded 5. So there is vulnerabilities there. I know some of West Brom's goals were fantastic, and it's probably one of them days where everything went right for West Brom. Callum Robinson scoring the goals he did. He's never done that before. I don't think them type of finishes. So it might have just one of them days. No, incredible. It was a mad. You know what? It was a mad weekend of football. There was goals galore. It was great football to watch. I didn't watch one bad game all weekend. Maybe apart from the Newcastle Spurs game. Even though it was a 2-2, it wasn't a great watch. There was loads of crap football in there. But I watched Southampton Burnley. That was fantastic. I watched Wolves West Ham last night. It was fantastic. Arsenal Liverpool, Leicester Man City, Villa Fulham. They were all great games. So there was some really, really good football at the weekend. And obviously Chelsea West Brom. So it was one of them strange weekends where anything seemed possible. But
Man City were incredible.
Man City were incredible. But just getting back to Chelsea, if you were to draw them in the semi-final, there's still that element that Liverpool could hit form at the right time, and Chelsea have had their purple patch, so it could work out in your favour.
Oh, definitely. And like, if we can get past Madrid and stuff, and you win them 2 games, like I think Jordan Henderson's due back after the Madrid games. Like, you add him into that midfield then, and you're strong. Like, you've Henderson, Fabinho, and then you add in Thiago or Ronaldo. Like, and then you have the front 4 to work with. Like, it could be a good end of the season, but I'm not going to get too far ahead of myself, because I did that once or twice this season, and then it just all falls apart. Like, so.
Yeah, see, we're not getting too carried away with ourselves. Just talk about the opponents on Saturday. Do you think that Arsenal put up a very, very weak challenge, and that it wasn't a real test? I know everyone expected it to be a top test, but Arsenal didn't really turn up, and I know they missed a couple of players, but it's not an excuse for how they played. We're going to get into the Monday Night Football analysis last night, but were you really disappointed in terms of if you were neutral looking at Arsenal?
Oh, definitely. I think I said this to you before. Like, it's Arsenal or Liverpool. This is the best time to play Liverpool. Like, Liverpool are struggling. Like, they're not scoring goals. Their backline's patched up. Like I said that to you.
Arsenal were on the better form.
We played you in January too, Spurs. Like, and you sort of just let us dominate the ball. Like, and West Ham did it the week after. West Ham were pushing. Like, I know they're in the top 4 now, but they were at the time they were flying. Like, and you're going, just come at Liverpool. You will beat them. Like, and the both teams sat there and they just let Liverpool beat them. And Arsenal did the same there on Saturday, but I think from what we talked, Monday Night Football, they were saying they're seeing like Lacazette and Aubameyang starting to down tools and Arteta, like maybe player power trying to come in there.
I've seen this before, but it's almost like it was a throwback to how it was under Arsenal 4 years ago. Just Wenger type of performance where they were just big game, didn't turn up, look weak, spineless at times, just didn't fancy it. As that sort of ghost of Wenger still hanging about there so many years after it, that there's some players still there from that reign that it's just they can't seem to find any consistency.
Yeah, you can see it there, and I sort of makes it look like Liverpool 5 or 6 years ago. You just know some games they're just not going to turn up. The players doesn't fancy it until Klopp builds that team. He builds that the winning mentality, as he calls it. Like you have to go into every game. Like it doesn't matter where it is, and Arsenal players just don't fancy it at times. Like, and it's sad to see like players playing at the biggest stage to be like that. Like
we've talked about Arsenal, but I think a couple of times you've been on, it's just felt that Arsenal seem to. I think Arsenal are a bearer of bad news for Arsenal. Every time you're on, they seem to be in dire straits. But we see Arteta, right? They sort of feel a bit sorry for him in terms of there is games you can see what he's trying to do, and they do get the odd result. And he won that FA Cup, and they're still in the Europa League. But there's too many big egos there for a young manager to come. He hasn't been there and done it for him to control. You look at Aubameyang, he just looks like he's down tools since I think Carragher spoke about it, being left out for turning up. It's a valid reason to be left out of the North London Derby game. But you're looking for a reactionary, an experienced captain. But he doesn't. He just seems to have gone the other way. He's more interested in what way his hair looks, tattoos. He's got that by contract. And do you think now it's just with Aubameyang that he's no motivation anymore to play first? I don't know. It's strange because he's a captain, but if you look at his performances, his attitude, it doesn't seem interested at all. Can you hear me?
Aye, for me, like if you're sitting in that Arsenal dressing room, like, and you're looking around, like, and he's your captain, you're disgusted. Like, if Arteta should just make a stand, like, and take him out of the team. And I got you, Eric. Can you hear me?
Aye, go ahead. Go ahead. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
You hear me?
I delayed there. I delayed. Go ahead.
All right, you got me or now? What we're saying there, I would if I was an Arsenal player in that dressing room, you're looking around, like I would. If I was Arteta, I would take him out of the team and give someone else a captaincy now, like, and just push on with the young boys.
Yeah, Dean saying Arsenal are very poor. Seems the players didn't look like they're playing for Arteta. Liverpool punished them and took their chances.
Yeah.
Trent played really well. I think they suggest they weren't playing for him was as because they seem to have turned it around. I think before Christmas they looked like they were maybe not playing for him. But I think the problem was he took Saka out and Smith Rowe, he were injured. He brought in Aubameyang, who's not been firing at all, and he's got a big influence in that dressing room. You've seen it with Ozil as well. He had that kind of influence. That it's a massive job for a young coach like Arteta. They go on there and try and get them players all on the same sheet. I think Sam's right. If you bring these young boys on, he probably has a better chance. Aubameyang leaving him out to a big call. He left him out of the North London Derby game. It worked really well for him. But I think the boys did a great piece last night on Arsenal. The front six at all didn't press them. Very, very unlike Arteta's teams. How you set Arsenal up over recent weeks. Even when they have been a bit negative, they've still pressed them up front. They've still been hard to beat. And I just didn't see that at all from Arsenal on Saturday. Just far too easy to get at. And they let Liverpool dominate the game for far too long. Sam, I was just saying that everyone's saying about bringing the young players in. And it's definitely worked for Carragher, for Arsenal and Arteta. But even the players they had out there, experienced players, I think you could argue the tactics were negative, but I don't think Arteta sent them out there not to press at all. The front six, Pepe, Lacazette, Aubameyang, Odegaard, to be fair, he at times was on his own. Partey just strolled around, and Ceballos, none of them really did what they were told to do. You seen Arteta on the touchline, he looked a man that was completely, the players weren't doing what he wanted. How much of a concern is that for Arteta, that he's got so many players there that they won't do what he wants them to do?
It's a massive concern, like, because like you say, you can't change a whole 11. Like, it has to be done bit by bit.
Yeah.
And like you say, there's 6 or 7 players there just look like they didn't want to be there.
Yeah.
Massive contracts, paid big money for them. So
it's everyone's saying to you about bringing the young players in.
Still a few years ago.
Oh, big time! And everyone's saying about bringing the young players in, which he has done, but it's hard to do that when you're 10th in the league. They start bringing out the big stars and bringing in young boys because Arsenal's underachieved this season. Even when you look at that squad, everyone was saying they should push for top 4, but they're miles away from top 4. They're not even top 4. If they had missed out by a few points, you could say right, there's progress, but they've not really. They've went backwards in terms of their league position. Everything it seems to be season after season. Now Arsenal's pinning their hopes to a cup run, and again, it's it could work out. They could win it, but it's you say it's a very outside chance the way they've been on a hold. Can they be consistent on there? And do you think Arteta's position is going to be looked at in the summer if they don't win that Europa League?
No, I don't think it is. No, I think they're going to try and build with Arteta and just gradually go step by step because he's a young manager. That's probably why they got him in. They're going to give him the years 2 or 3 years, maybe 4 years to try and build something. He has time on his side.
Yeah.
And
James, come on.
I don't see any top manager looking for it.
Big time.
Yeah.
That's what I think. I think it's going to be Arteta going to stick by him. I just think he's going to have to. It's going to be hard. You've all these big players sitting around in big contracts. Willian, Aubameyang. It's just got Ozil out the door, and Carragher spoke about it last night. As Callum says here.
Yeah.
Could there be an hour situation with Aubameyang now? They just got rid of Ozil. Big contract. Doesn't look interested. And the problem that he had with Ozil was he had such a big influence in the dressing room. And Aubameyang, you can see the players love him because of what he's done at Dortmund, what he's done at Arsenal since he's been there. It's very difficult for Arteta to sideline him. And even if he does, he's still going to be at the training ground. He's still going to have an influence in the team.
Yeah, and that's it. If they want to get rid of him as well, they're going to have to pay him out his big contract, and I can't imagine the board are going to want to do that,
Yeah, it's definitely tough times ahead. Yeah, Arsenal were embarrassing on Saturday night. Should head in their heads in James. Totally agree, James.
Yeah,
Arsenal were like Liverpool from 10 years ago. James saying no player back in the club. You say that,
agreed.
But look how long it took Ozil to get it. Look how long it took him to get rid of him. And it's the same with Aubameyang. I think he's in $375,000 a week. He's one of the highest paid players in the Premier League. He's a player that you can see as well. He's on decline. He's lost a bit of pace. Teams aren't going to pay top money for him. As Sam says, it's going to cost them money to get rid of Aubameyang. And you can see that when you drop a player from a squad, from a big game, your captain, you want the reaction. You've seen the 3 or 4 games since there's been no reaction, and he's went backwards. You've seen with Arteta, he's actually subbing him off now. He subbed him off against West Ham when you're 3-2 down, needing a goal. Subbed him off against Liverpool 2-0 down. He's your top goal scorer, and they're subbing him off. So it's not going to end well.
There's obviously a reason why the top clubs didn't go for him 3 or 4 years ago when he was in his prime. There's obviously more behind the scenes that top manager, Klopp didn't even go for him when he needed a striker, and he had him at Dortmund. You know what I mean? And it's just 100%. It's strange that he was going for that big move and ended up in Arsenal.
Moving on, sat down last night. Everton Palace wasn't great. It was Everton kicked them. They should be kicking themselves. They great opportunity. They took control. No, we get a real fight because they had a game in hand as well, even after last night. But Everton do what Everton do. I think very similar to Spurs at times. The big moment comes and they don't seize it. But West Ham made a blustering start. Some of the football was excellent. Same thing that happened with Emily, where they got very nervous towards them. They did manage to hang on. But Sam, do you think West Ham are a really underrated team that everyone associates them in being hard to beat? They're going to play a defensive style of football, and they have done it at times this year. But they're also capable of putting on a performance like they did in the first 30 minutes against Arsenal, the first 30 minutes last night against Wolves, where if you look at them 3 goals last night, they were fantastic goals. If that was Barcelona, everybody would be raving about it.
Raving about them, you know what? I was reading a thing a few months ago, and it was saying the likes of Liverpool and teams like that have struggled with no fans in the stadiums. But West Ham, West Ham have had their best season without fans. And I think they get a lot of stick. The West Ham fans are demanding. When things like one bad pass and they just slaughter the team. They just go at them. And I think West Ham have benefited from that. They've been able to relax and just go. But you know what? I enjoy watching them. I really do. Like they play they play proper football. Like
I
from
tell
the
you
back,
what,
Deck and Rice in midfield has been unbelievable. And then
well, he was missing last night, and he still managed to play well. And he's a fantastic player. But
still,
everyone talks about Lingard getting his form back and all, but I tell you what, I haven't seen Lingard play as well as I have even at United when he was playing on his best. I can't believe how fast he is. So the way he just gets away from people at times. I know he hasn't been playing a lot of football, but people have been saying about Bale not playing a lot of football, and he's doesn't have the same kind of sharpness. So some of the things, like it was a goal last night, he ran away from 4 or 5 players. You know, I know confidence is on. He feels probably the way he's playing, he can do anything, but he's been an absolute revelation for West Ham.
you know what? I'm glad to see him doing well because he's had a lot of issues personally. Like, you know, he had a lot going on at the house for the last few years that, you know, he didn't, that people probably don't know about, and he had to just get on with it. Like, and he took a lot of stick from Man United fans. But
Yeah.
I think he should try and stay at West. I think he should try and stay at West Ham, and I think he's found a level where he's probably the best player in the team, and it suits him. You know, it's all about him.
Man.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he's the main man, and he's confident. He's scoring goals, assists. Like, I think he's found the right person maybe to get it out of him, and the right unit and the right team. Like, you know what I mean? He should enjoy his football and worrying about sitting on the bench or sitting in a reserve team. Like,
We talk about West Ham being disrespected, and one manager that's definitely disrespected a lot is David Moyes. Everybody associates him with being a very negative manager, organised, but you know, doesn't play a lot of good football. You look at the squad West Ham have; they haven't really got a striker at all. Antonio's been in and out and with injury. You know, they do what they're doing. You know, with the players that they have is incredible. Do you think that Moyes has put himself back on the map again? That everyone says that football's moved on from the likes of Moyes and Mourinho and managers like that. But do you think that Moyes is outshining all these managers at the moment?
you know what? It's the same as Lingard. I think Moyes is just fine. Like, when Moyes was at Everton, it was his level. You know, he set up a certain way. They were hard to beat. They finished 5th or 6th every season. You know, that sort of thing. And he went to Man United. Just wasn't big enough. Just wasn't big enough for the club. But I think now at West Ham with this group of players, he's found that level again. Like, I think this year he'll finish 5th or 6th, and I don't think he'll ever be any higher than that as a manager. But
I was gonna say,
you know what? Fair play to him because he has took some serious stick over the years. Like, and it's no mean. It would have been easier for him. To walk away.
Everybody was tipping West Ham to be relegated this year at the start of the season and stuff. So it's a massive achievement to get where they are now. They are in the top 4. They're a point ahead of Chelsea at the minute. Their fixtures they're not the hardest, but they're still tough games in there. And do you just sense that even when they make them fast starts, they're so nervous at times. They're wobbling. You know, a team that's been well organised all season, they're having to score 3 goals in 91 games and even 4 goals. That the pressure's really on now that they've not been in, these players haven't been in a position like this before. You know, they're seeing the finishing line. They're getting almost like they're getting carried away with themselves. That are they capable of withstanding the kind of pressure that's going to be on them now over the next 8 games?
That's the problem when you get beat. I think also with Declan Rice out, you know, it could be if he beats out for maybe 3 or 4, 5, 6 games, like it'll be a big problem for them as well.
Leicester could bid at the weekend. They play West Ham away this weekend. See if West Ham already won that. Do you think that makes it 2 places available all of a sudden? Do you think that Leicester's on that top 4 battle? Because I think if West Ham already won on Sunday, they go a point behind Leicester, and Leicester have tougher games left. So do you think that that's a huge game for Leicester on Sunday as well?
Oh, massive! Like, that's, you know, I know like the Chelsea, Liverpool, and West Ham are aiming for 4th spot, obviously. Like, but Leicester are there to be got as well. And whatever happened to them last year, like they could start to panic as well.
Yeah. So I was going to say Leicester, if they were to lose on Sunday, what you've seen for West Ham over the last few weeks, where they've been in front and they look wobbly at times. Even that Spurs game when they were 2-0 up, they were really fortunate they hang on. Spurs battered them and should have really got at least a draw.
Yeah.
But there's Chelsea, Liverpool, Spurs. You've been in the top 4 before, or used to this kind of running. That they'll have a lot of confidence of wearing these teams down towards the end.
Said it Leicester or West Ham? Sorry, Gareth.
Both teams who've not been in the top 4. And I know Leicester won the league one year, but apart from that, they've not been a top 4 team. West Ham haven't been a top 4 team. You know, the fact Chelsea, Liverpool, and Spurs have been there before, finished in the top four. They're used to the kind of European running. You know, dealing with the pressure. Maybe not, but not Spurs. Aren't really good at dealing with pressure, but they've been there in the top six before, top four. They're not a stranger to being in this position towards the end of the season. Liverpool, Chelsea have been notoriously top four teams. So do you think that if West Ham were to win on Sunday, that all of a sudden them two places, that them teams behind them will be snuffing them?
Oh, definitely. West Ham. If West Ham win, Leicester are in big trouble. I think Leicester will start to wobble. Like, you know, I think they'll panic, because I know they were playing Man City on Saturday, but they took a bad beating. Like, it was just domination from the first.
I actually texted Callum during the game. We were chatting in the group chat, and I was saying you wouldn't have thought it was third against first. You would have thought it was third bottom against first. It was so the difference in the two teams was incredible. No, I know Man City are different. I know they're top team, but Leicester never laid a glove on them. Never got near them.
No, and it doesn't look good for your run into the season when you take a good beating like that. You know, it does shake your confidence. Doesn't matter who you're playing. Like, so it'll be interesting and this is a massive game for them against West Ham. You know, it's a cup final sort of game. Sort of, if they won that, they could nearly secure them the top four. Like, you know,
it's a must-not-lose game. Leicester will go out there. I think Leicester will be very pragmatic, counter-attacking. Let's not get beat, and we're still in a decent position. But how do you see that top four at the minute? Liverpool back in it. I know Spurs dropped points the weekend. Big blow to them. Really should have closed that game out. I know they didn't play well, but they should still have held on. They won that game, and they're sitting. I think Spurs and Liverpool are 3 points off West Ham. Chelsea's a point off. Everton, if they won their game in hand, could be up there. But how do you see it? How do you see it finishing up?
Well, I forget about Everton straight away. I just don't think they're good enough. Like, you know, they're just. I think they're only there because of the league's been so poor this season. Like, but it's like you say, it's hard to say. Like, it's hard to get a Liverpool are obviously back.
All these teams are guilty of dropping points. They're all guilty of just, you know, you seen there, like, you know, before the weekend you would never have seen Chelsea dropping points against West Brom. And then most of the teams didn't take advantage. You know, Liverpool and Liverpool and West Ham did. Spurs didn't. Everton didn't, and Leicester got beat. So again, the table doesn't look too different because everyone was dropping points, and Liverpool closed a bit of a gap. But I think Liverpool's still seventh. Spurs are still sixth. So it's kind of similar outlook. Only West Ham have swapped with Chelsea. So it's very difficult. But if you had to make a call on it now, who would you say by?
I'll say with Liverpool anyway. Just
and do you think Leicester will make it, or do you still think there's an hour chance for somebody else?
No, I think there's still 2 positions up for grabs. Like, you know, I still think there are. Like, you know, there's still 24 odd points to play for. Like, and Leicester can be beat. Like, and there's no doubt. Like, they lose 2. Like you say, if they lose to West Ham on Saturday or Sunday, whatever it is, and then Liverpool, Chelsea, and all win, you know, there's just that.
Leicester's last 3 games are United away, Chelsea away, and Spurs at home. So again, tough run towards the end of the season, and they could possibly in an FA Cup final coming up on that as well. So again, their focus could be elsewhere. But so you fancy Liverpool, and who would the other team be?
Probably Chelsea, to be honest. I just think their squad, that squad they have has enough to get through. Like,
see, to be honest, if you look at it, West Ham and Chelsea, they're probably the 2 teams in the best position in terms of stability. Liverpool were up and down all season, and there's been a lot of the home form's a big question mark. Can they turn? You would expect them to get that sorted, in the next few weeks. But they're probably the 2 safest. I know West Ham have been, looking a bit nervous, but in terms of chances on paper, they've got a great chance now. Whether they can handle that pressure is going to be the big question. Spurs, there seems to be something going on behind the scenes. A lot of talk again about Mourinho. There's a bit of a circus going on. This kind of follows him around clubs.
Yeah.
You get the feeling that if Spurs had the players on the one side, they would definitely. I think that they're going to be a team that's regretting it. Liverpool have dropped all these points, and this was Spurs' biggest chance, and they're still level with them. They should be miles ahead of them.
So they should be.
I think Spurs have possibly missed their opportunity. They're going to have to beat United on Sunday to get back on it, and I think that's going to be a very difficult ask. James Keenan's it's just this kind of questions banned. Did I not say that? No, I show that you're not allowed to ask questions about Hurricane. But no, would you, from a football point, would you want Hurricane to leave Spurs the next transfer window? I think it's a very difficult one for me to answer. Of course, I never want to see him leave. I think it's a lot of talk about it. And Sky, to be honest, are getting totally out of hand with it. Every show, Sky Sports News, every Super Sunday, there seem to be championing it. I can understand that because Kane's an English player and they want him to go on and win trophies, but it is getting a bit out of hand. I think it's a total nonsense now. I think there's only one person that knows really, what the answer is. If Kane wants to leave, then Kane should come out and say it at the end of the season. He maybe wants to move on. But only after a transfer was agreed. But the way Sam,
he's asking you from a
exactly, and that's insane. But I can't do that. From a football point of view, everyone wants Harry Kane. I mean, you texted me during the game and said, "Geez, that man is a special player, unbelievable player." But Sam, the way Kane's talking, do you sense that although he's probably unhappy with how things are happening in Spurs, that he's still loyal? He wants to break all records at Spurs. There's still a part of him because I'm being a Spurs fan, a bit like me and every other fan. There's hope. You always have that hope in you that he's maybe a bit delusional in terms of he thinks it could still happen from Spurs. He could still win trophies. He could go down as the greatest ever player at Spurs. Do you think there's still that little boy inside him as a fan?
Of course there is. You would never lose that. And it sort of goes back to the Steven Gerrard's. With Liverpool. I know he did win a lot of trophies and they end up but. Yeah. Harry Kane he'll be saying I could go to Man City and win the Premier League next week, but what if Spurs won the FA Cup? He'd rather win, I would say, an FA Cup with Spurs than a league with, Man City maybe But I always look at Alan Shearer. I know Alan Shearer won the Premier League, but realistically, big deal out of 20 years of football. He scored 260 Premier League goals and he has won Premier League where Andy Cole, Aguero, Van Nistelrooy's, Henry's, they all have multiple trophies, and their goals. For me, Alan Shearer's goals don't really mean anything because they didn't win it. They didn't win him anything. And Harry Kane for the same.
You can look at it two ways, right? Everyone's saying that you can't be one of the best ever if you've never won anything or not won enough trophies. You compare Shearer to Henry, right? Shearer's won Premier League. Henry's got our trophies hanging off every limb with different clubs.
Oh no, but I don't. That's not what I mean. There's no doubt Harry Kane is one of the best strikers in world football, probably the best striker in world football at the minute, and he will go down as one thing. But I'm just saying, as a personal point of view, he looks back when he's 50 or 60 and say, "Oh, big deal, it broke Alan Shearer's Premier League record." But I look around, there's nothing. So
you think that even though he hasn't won anything, he'll still go down as one of the greatest ever?
Strikers, in the Premier League.
Shearer seems to be in that top three, everyone's top three. You
can't doubt that Shearer scored buckets of goals for Newcastle and they were a bucket team more or less, bar one or two seasons. You imagine if he went to Man United at that time, he'd probably have 350 Premier League goals. Do you know what I mean?
There's a big difference for me, right, between Shearer and Kane, right? And I think Kane's a different kind of level of player. Shearer was a great goal scorer.
There's no doubt. Kane's a better footballer.
I think if he doesn't win anything, that's going to be one of the biggest travesties in football. He probably will eventually leave. If he gets to 32, 33, it could possibly go to some different league and win. I don't think it's going to be. But in terms of the Premier League, he can't look back in 5 years' time and nobody will take him based on that. It's here and now. And it would be one of the biggest ever tragedies if this man doesn't win something. I mean, you look at him you text me during the game on Sunday. Some of the things he can do, he's passing, he's finishing, his first touch. See, in terms of Kane, everyone puts him up there as one of the top strikers. Do you think he's in the bracket of one of the best in the world in terms of his all-round game? There's not many players in Europe you would take over him.
No, without a doubt. He's top drawer. And that's what I'm getting at. Obviously from a Spurs point of view, you don't want him to leave, but I'm just on about maybe a neutral or football point of view. The man deserves to win every trophy available because of what he puts into the game and what he gives the fans. That's my point. And you look around and he's gonna he will break goal scoring records. That's what he's gonna do. But he's adding double figures assists as well. And then you're going, he deserves to win a Premier League. He deserves to win a Champions League. You know what I mean? But he's not even going to be playing in the Champions League with Spurs. Do you know what I mean?
That's just the thing. But there's just something about him that he just seems so loyal to Spurs. I just don't know how it's going to end up. But he's 98 goals away from Shearer's record. Do you think it's inevitable he's going to break it?
Hey, if he stays on if he stays on course now for the next 4 seasons, avoids injuries, I'm sure he'd have no bar. Well, maybe 5. It'd be 20 to 25 goals a season. Do you know what I mean? It's going to be tight. because he does usually get injured for a period of every season. Like, but
Yeah.
I think it's the only one that could probably ever get close to it.
Well, it's some going, and the fact that Kane only started playing at Spurs, and he only got that Premier League chance when he was 21. If he had done this a couple of years earlier, that he'd probably have broken all by now. But see, with this cup final now coming up in a few weeks' time, it's the longest ever wait for a cup final. This is like a nonsense January, and there's been so much talk about it. It's massive for Spurs as a club. Talk about Mourinho all you want, but this is bigger for Spurs than Mourinho. You know what? I think we're Mourinho anyway. You've seen all the stuff going on behind the scenes. I think even if they were to somehow finish top 4 and won a cup, it wouldn't be sustainable next year. There's too many players that they're not playing from, which makes it very difficult. They won, in my opinion, now. But if they were to somehow won that, I know it's only a League Cup, but do you think the talk about Kane might die down?
You know what? This is going to be the summer that you hear all about it because he's 28. If he doesn't leave now this summer, he is never leaving Spurs. He maybe, like you say, 32, 33, and he might go on and go to America, or he might wherever. Like, do you know what I mean? But if he doesn't leave Spurs now, he's going nowhere for the rest of his career. Like, that's a fact. Like, because he's going to be too old, and that's just the way it is.
100%, right? I think if this wasn't COVID, if the COVID hadn't happened, there's a huge possibility that a bud might come in where it's not far off Spurs would want, and Kane might push inside and say, look, this might be my only opportunity to leave. I've given you everything I want, everything I've got. This is my one chance. If it's a big club, if it's a Man City, no, Man City aren't classified as, but they are. You're guaranteed you won. Probably the only team you're guaranteed you won. Would he want to go and play in a team like that? Of course he would. But on the other hand, he might just be saying that I'm a Spurs fan. I want to be here. I want to be that player that delivers a trophy. I think Shearer had that at Newcastle. Even them, Newcastle were a far better team 10 years ago. But they never could get over the line. And maybe Shearer had that fifth as well. Kane could look back and regret it, but now he might be just pushing and pushing and pushing. And he might, as you say, that one trophy with Spurs could mean more to him than 10 with another team. But it's going to be interesting. I think the fact that COVID's in there, Sam, it makes it very difficult. I think Spurs want 150 million from him. I think it's going to be very difficult for any team. They even a Man City, even a Real, one of them top teams, they shell out that kind of money. What do you think?
Oh, it will be difficult. I can't see there's not that type of money about, obviously, at the minute. But on the other hand, then you're looking at the business side of things. Like, Spurs need a rebuild as well. Like defensively.
Would you not say that he's a player? I know it's terrible, but would you not say that he's a player that will be key to any rebuild? He's your best player. You're not going to get. You look around Europe. You're not going to get any kind of player to come back on. You're losing. You're losing possibly 30 to 40 goals.
Oh, here I agree with you 100%. But he's your only man that you can get money for. Like, nobody else is going to.
But I know maybe not sell Son if you had to pick between one or two.
What would you get for Son realistically in today's market with COVID? Like, do you know what I mean? Like,
they're going to have to try and shift somebody. Would you not get 40 or 50 for Sissoko now? I tell you what, Sanchez, we were chatting with him during the game. Oh my God, some of the things he was doing. A professional football, I cannot believe it. I don't know what's going on, but he needs to come out of the team. It's ridiculous. I know somebody's, I know, and I agree with you. I've said before he's terrible, but that's as bad as I've ever seen it. Even on the ball, some of the things he was doing. Nobody knew him, and he's falling over himself. It's shocking.
It makes me laugh. It just makes me laugh. I just tears laughing at him.
Oh, big time! It's a comedy for you, James. I hopefully come on Spurs. Believe I hope so. A lot of Liverpool fans are cheering on Spurs because of this Man City rivalry, so that's great. Ryan Hamilton saying De Bruyne is the only player he'd have over Kane. I imagine them two in the same team. What kind of force would Man City be?
That's amazing.
Origi's one more than Kane. Owen saying. James also saying payback time for Liverpool on Saturday against Villa. Thanks for your comments, boys. Great comments. Before we go, we're going to get on the predictions for the midweek games. Sam, starting tonight. Over there. Did you hear us on this here? For breaking news, Rafael Varane out of Champions League quarter-final with coronavirus test positive. So that's a big blow for Madrid.
That's massive.
Massive in terms of the strength and pace at the back. That could be a big blow. But starting off tonight, Real Madrid against Liverpool. How do you see that going, Sam?
I'm going to go 2-0 Liverpool.
2-0 Liverpool. I think that just Varane being out now could be a big loss. I'm going to go for I'm going to go 3-1 Liverpool. I think they'll be too strong.
Yeah.
Raising this game's on at the same time because I would have wished this was on the morning. Man City, Dortmund. I think this is probably the hour. I know Bayern Munich, PSG is the morning, but PSG seem to be in all sorts of trouble. This is in terms of Dortmund and Haaland. I'd love to watch this, but obviously I'm going to watch the Madrid Liverpool. But how do you see this one going?
It's going to be. I think it's going to be a great game. Like, I think, you know what? I fancy Man City maybe 2-1, 3-1, and around that. Like maybe 2-1. I'll go. Man
I
City
think there's
never.
going to be loads of goals in this.
Man City just
I
never.
think there's going to be loads of goals. I think there's going to be loads of goals in this. I'm going to go 3-2 Man City. I think it's going to be a very interesting game. Tomorrow night, Bayern Munich against PSG. I don't know what's happening with PSG. There's strange results happening all over in France. I don't know what's going on. I think Pochettino's conceded the league and everything. And all of a sudden, that whole romance of Poch going there doesn't seem to be working out too much. And if they were to get heavily beaten here, he's under serious pressure. I think he wouldn't be sacked, but he'd be going the next season under heavy pressure.
I can't believe he came out the other day and says, "Oh, we can't win the league after one." It's a strange thing they come out and say. Like, I don't know what point he was trying to get across or where.
Some of Poch's interviews at times can be very strange. You know, I think didn't they say before the Liverpool Champions League final, if we won, I'm retired on Spurs. I'm not going to carry on. You know, stuff. I do seem to say. I don't know whether it's a miscommunication. Well, see, maybe he's going to say he's English, but I don't know if it's a miscommunication with his language. Again, if he's saying things that maybe are being picked up differently, you have to watch to see. But again, it was a very strange because they're not a million miles away from Lille, but it's just the results. They've lost a lot. I think that's 2 home defeats in a row in the league, and they're going to be under serious pressure now going to this game. How do you see it going?
Jeez, I don't know. Hey, I'd probably fancy Munich. Same thing again, maybe 2 or 3-1 Munich. You know, I just think it's a good time for Munich to get at PSG now, like, and just. But you just look at PSG turn up with Mbappe and stuff too. Like, I don't know. It's
Lewandowski's out, doesn't he?
Jeez, he is out. Actually, you're right.
I think if he was playing this, he'd be loving this. But I think that might make it a bit closer. But I think Munich are hitting form at the right time too. They seem to be in the second half of the season. They seem to be absolutely turning teams away from Astana. Seems to be in great form. There's no doubt that Bayern Munich's got their eye in this Champions League again. And they're going to be. If it is City, Bayern Munich, that's going to be an absolute blockbuster. That's going to be a real test of Man City's mentality. It's sandwiched in between, really important. I think the cup final is a few days before the first leg. If it was City, Bayern Munich, that's going to be a massive test for them. But I think Bayern Munich will win this. I'm going to go 2-1. But if it was Lewandowski was fit, I would be saying maybe 4-1. But I'm going to go 2-1. Porto against Chelsea. Do you know what? The worst thing could have happened for Porto is Chelsea to lose that game. I think you're going to see a massive response. How do you see that going?
So you're going to see a sort of similar game to the first leg of Chelsea Atletico Madrid, like that same system, that same personnel, like. Chelsea will fancy getting the result there, you know, like, and they should, like, you know, they should be able to get up Pepe and all at the back of Porto and stuff, like, maybe 1 or 2-0 Chelsea. I think they'll be 2-0
Chelsea myself. I think they'll be too strong. Europa League, we're just looking at the two English teams. Arsenal against Slavia Prague, huge game for Arsenal. This is their season. This next week, them 2 games against Prague, that's their season. They've losing to Liverpool. I even think top 6 is going for them. I don't think they're going to be in Europe unless they win this. Huge pressure. And you know what? That adds pressure. It's the fact they haven't got anything to fall back on. It puts them under massive pressure coming on this. So how do you see it going?
Slavia Prague. Hey, they just keep going, like, don't they?
Prague seem to be better away from home. You know, so coming to Arsenal, they bit Rangers away, they bit Leicester away. So do you think they'll be eyeing this up as well?
You know what? You could go 2-1 Slavia Prague. Like, you know, they'll fancy it. Like, and Arsenal will be lacking serious confidence after Saturday. Like, you know, if he has to play the same team again, you know, you'll fancy Slavia Prague to get at them.
Saka and Smith Rowe coming back and it's going to be crucial for this game for them. But I do think they are going to be back. I do think I think they were carrying fitness concerns, and that's why they were left out, because this game's so important. So I'm going to just go 2-1 Arsenal, but it's going to be all they play for in the second leg. And United away to Granada. United seem to be, after that Leicester game again, you always see a response from United, and they got the response against Brighton. Brown had to dig deep. But again, Granada away, it's a favourable tie, but there's still an element of United mentality. Can they go? Can they see these games through now and these cup competitions?
Yeah, and I'll be honest, like I don't know much about Granada, like, but on terms of like Man United sitting second in the league, I know they haven't been great, but they seem to be able to grind results out. They seem to sort of do enough to get over the line. Like this is a big opportunity for my fancy United. They maybe won 2 or 3-0. Like, I think they'll do a job, like, and get it done, like.
So I'm gonna go 2-0 United as well. Do you think it's going to be Ajax or Roma in the semi-final? Do you think that's going to be a huge test for them in terms of coming up against an experienced, the teams that are have got a European pedigree? You've come up against Roma in the semi-final before the Champions League. They're going to be very well organised, very difficult to beat. Or if it's Ajax, they're going to be a very good footballing team. So it's going to be a huge test. The semi-final record's going to be on. Everyone's going to be talking about it before the game. Do you think that'll be a huge test for them?
That'll be a massive test because they struggled with an average AC Milan team, like, so if they got any of them two teams, like, they'd be really up against it, like. But I don't think they should be, like, with the squad United have. But they just seem to big games. It doesn't really happen, like, they always seem they just fall apart.
Yeah, top man, Sam. Really enjoyed that. Brilliant views. Great to see so many comments and engagement as well. Thanks for that. I'm going to be back on Friday. Colin Logan, we're going to be talking Spurs United ahead of the big game on Sunday. Colin's really, really good as well, so I know a lot of you enjoyed listening to him. So again, it'd be great to see he's back. Probably Friday night at 7 o'clock, but I'll let you know later in the week. Sam, thanks very much, and good luck tonight with the game. Should be a cracker.
Hopefully. No bother. Thank you.
Top man.